Hello and welcome back. We are starting a new series of videos. We are actually going to walk through, take the steps, essentially do some examples to get to a certified associate in Python programming. This is going to be based off of the Python Institute, off of their tests and their syllabus. They do have one that's they've got an entry level that is basically general programming concepts, things of that nature. I think as we go through this, we're going to be far enough along that we will be able to include those as well, particularly if you've worked on the 15 minutes a day Django Python stuff. There's a lot of the pieces in there. You'd probably want to brush up on them if you wanted to get to that, do that exam. But there's nothing that it appears that we need to have any kind of a prerequisite. So, for example, as it says here, unless they change anything, the entry level is not a prerequisite for associate. So we're going to actually jump right to working on the associate, working towards that. And I think even if you're pretty new, if you've worked through some of our other stuff, you should be in good shape to follow along. Now, what I am going to assume is that you've gone through the Python installation. Ideally, you want to be at 3.9, and if you do, I believe it's a -V, then you'll see what version you're on. 3.9 at this point is the latest stable one out there and makes a lot of sense. And you definitely want to be 3.6 or later. There were enough changes in 3.5 to 3.6, and 3.5 I think is not supported in most places. I'm not sure where it's supported anymore. So you want to be at least 3.6. If not, like I said, 3.9 is going to be your best bet, because you do sometimes see stuff on exams that is going to be that covers the latest version that's out there. We're going to be working somewhat through the syllabus. I'll have links to this, so if you go to pythoninstitute.org, you can see there are various certifications. And as you're digging through, if you look at the Certified Associate, you will be able to find a syllabus and see the things that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to do my best to try to take like bullet items and put those into the notes for each of these videos so that you'll be able to walk your way through what's there. And I'm going to try to use keywords where possible. Some of them may or may not be totally easy to look at, but I'm also going to try to go somewhat in order. But there's going to be a little bit of bouncing around as well. But we're going to start today. We're going to look at really focusing on the interpreting in the interpreter. And we're just going to basically, again, do about 15 to 20 minute chunks and do the best we can to just work our way through these things until we get to the end, and then be able to go get certified as a Python developer. So jumping right into the interpreter. Nice thing about Python is that you can come right in once you've installed it, is if you just use the Python command. Let me blow this up a little bit more. And actually, let me do it this way. I'm going to make it a little easier. So if you jump in, if you type just Python, and in my case, Python 3, because I have a older version of Python. So this takes me to version. I can see what it is, version 3.9. And you're right in on a command line. So I can do Python right away. So I could say print hello world, and boom, I'm there. If you see here, I can do help. If I type help, it'll let me, I can either do help with to get interactive help or on an object. It may be worth it as you're playing around, and essentially playing around if you want to use the interpreter to help you test out some things you're working on in Python. Then if you jump into the interactive version, you'll get a little help prompt. And then there's things like you can do modules, but you're going to have to give it like a module name. Because I think, so if you just do modules, there's probably not any available right now. Yeah, so there's nothing really that's in there. Oh, wait, I guess there is. There's a whole bunch that are going to be in there by default that I can see they're available, and you can do help on any one of those. You can also see what you may find much more useful are the keywords. You can see some of the keywords you can use, and so I could do like help assert. I'm sorry. I need to do it with parentheses. Oh, there isn't anything on. Oh, well, Maybe it doesn't like that. Okay, so it's not doing anything good there. If I do, well, let's see if I do help string. Yeah, so it's not very helpful right now, but more importantly, you can see some of the things that are out there. And let me see if I do like help if, and I forget if it's as a string. Oh, there's not any documentation. So you can see at least some of the commands you can use. Most of this is stuff we're going to actually get into when we're writing code. And these are things that we can come in and do. Let me get out of this real quick. Get back to, let's see, let me just get out here. Let me get totally out. Okay, so back to it. You can do some help, but you're probably better off to find help across the internet. You can import modules. So if I import OS, then now I have that available. So now I could do os.o, like I think it's login. Let's see. I can probably find that somewhere. So if I do, or let's just do os.name. So if I do os.name, oh, I'm going to have to print it. Oh, well, it just tells me what it is. Or I can do print os.name. And now, but if I do os, it's going to tell me that it's a module. If I do os.login, I think that's one it'll tell me it has no attribute. If I do it with this, let's see, what is it? Or is it user login? My mistake. Let's go. Oh, get login. So if I do get login, so we can see if I do get login, it's going to tell me that's actually a function. So if I do it with as a function, then it's going to give me the return. And here in the interactive mode, it's basically going to kick out whatever the evaluation is. So here I'm actually printing it. You can see that it evaluated to this string, but here I'm printing it out. So I could do, let's say, let's do A equals 3, B equals 4, C equals 5. And I can do A plus B, A plus B, and see that it's evaluating that for me. Here when it's doing assignment, it's not actually doing any sort of evaluation. But also if I do, so same thing, if I do print A plus C, then it's essentially going to give me the same thing. But it's a way for you to sort of quickly get through stuff, see how things are evaluating as you go. So I could do A plus C. So if I do D equals A plus B, shoot. Well, it's still going to do that. And then I can do print D. And so I can also go back. I can print A. And so it's actually building stuff up here. I can pull some files in. I can do various things. And really with the command line, it's mostly just getting yourself moderately comfortable to know how to do things like importing some sort of module if you need to. It's mostly for testing. And as you go in, let's see, as you go into the syllabus, if I can click over here, you can see that mostly it's just a basic concept. So we're really just going to get into the idea. And these are things that are going to really flesh out later. So at this point, we're just going to jump into, we're just showing sort of a highlight. I think we've seen all of this. When you look at compilation, then let's see if I go to, I don't have anything available. I don't think I have any. I don't have a good Python script sitting here. No. So what I'm going to do, and we're going to see this a lot, I'm actually use PyCharm, just the free version for doing a lot of my scripting. It's just a nice IDE. And while I'm waiting for that, and let me go over here. So if I go to, I think I've got some here. So I'm doing this. Let me grab a couple little scripts here. Let's see. let's do, there we go. That's where it's at. So I'm going to come in here, whoops. So I've got a couple different little scripts here. So let's just look at this app one. And I'm going to look at that in here right now. So this is a very simple hello world. I'm going to allow it to send some arguments, and then I'm going to walk through and just print those things out. Now, as far as compilers go, we don't have to specifically compile anything, but it's going to create a PYC file. So all we have to do, if I do Python 3 app 1, now note, we did not create a PYC file. When we just run it, where do we run one? Somewhere here. When we just run it, it's going to just run through and it's going to not necessarily show up. We're not going to get compiled. It's just going to basically run through the interpreter. And so if I get this, let's call this, so just to do this real quick. So if I do this with hello world, then the arguments sent are going to be hello world. There we go. And of course the name. If I want to compile, then I'm going to do, what I can do is I can do a compile, if I spell it right, compile all, the same file. And now it compiles it. And what we're going to see here is I don't see a PYC, but I do see this py cache. And so if I look there, then I'm going to see where it compiled to a PYC file, that app1. So we can do that and have something that's going to be a little bit faster. Really, there is some more advanced stuff that we'll probably talk about at some point where we're going to get into really a difference between interpreting and compilation. But because Python is so built to be interpreted, it's one of those things I don't think you're going to see a whole lot other than just understand that there is the concept of compilation or interpreting. These other things in the first bullet point, we're talking about syntax and semantics, Python keywords, instructions, and indenting. We've really covered that to some extent in the past. If I look, let me do this. Let me find a place to put this. Let's just do this. So now, if I put all of these, let's do make dir. Whoops. I'm going to do just a little bit of house cleaning here. So now I'm going to come into here. Okay, so we adjust our font a little bit so we can see some things. Now, some basics that we want to cover just real quickly as we're going through our introduction. Note that, as we've probably covered before, is that there is an indentation. Let me get rid of my notifications here. Note that, as we've talked about in the past, that there is a indentation that matters in Python. We don't have end of lines with a semicolon or something like that. We do an actual just line end, and then that's going to get us to our next one. And indentation is critical when we're dealing with anything in Python. Also, it's probably good to note, depending on what you come from, it is case sensitive. So if I do item equals blah, and here I do this, then we're going to see something very different. So if I come over here, I'm going to call that app1. Let's see, and I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. Oh, where did I do that? Oh, that's if there's a dash. So I'm sorry. So -1, -2, -3. So I have here, I've got potentially there's flags in here. And so we can see here in this little thing that -1, it's going to say there's a -1, but then we see here flag value of -1, but this one is going to pick up the blah. So we see that with each of those. So we are case sensitive, and that is critical to remember as we get into Python. Now, we've been in it for a while, so that probably is something that's sort of second nature to you. Also good to note that we use parentheses fairly regularly for our functions. However, we don't in our ifs. If you're coming from Java or C, that may cause you some issues at times. Just remember that functions, we got to use those. And in if statements and for blocks, we don't necessarily have those. So that can cause a little bit of confusion. And that being said, let's see, let's go back over here. So really the keywords, instructions, we've looked at that and sort of how they work, how functions work. We're going to get deeper into those, but I think that's sort of our good first start. We're going to come in next and we're going to look at our literals. So that will wrap it up for today. We'll start digging in a little more deeper. I know this is going to seem simplistic initially, but I want to make sure we walk through each of those. And there may be some things here and there that we cover that we haven't to this point. So go out there, have yourself a great day, and we will talk to you next time.